Hello, and thanks for joining us here at Tech24. I'm Anelise Borges. Coming up, who should rule the internet? About 1,000 participants from 97 countries met in Brazil to determine the future of the web. On the agenda, privacy, net neutrality, and the digital divide. And a test of cloud system player Gramofon, which promises a brand new way of experiencing music with your friends. Government officials, academics, campaigners, and technical experts, including the web's creator Tim Berners-Lee, met in São Paulo this past week for Net Mundial Conference. The objective? Lay out foundations for the Internet of the future. China and Russia won deliberations to take part within the United Nations framework. But the US, Australia, and several European nations have previously resisted the UN taking on management of the Internet, saying responsibility should instead pass to a group that is not controlled by governments. So I'll turn to our in-house expert, Dhananjay Kadikar, for that difficult question. Dan, who should govern the Internet?
No one.
No one.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but there's this famous song by Tears for Fears. It's called Everybody Wants to Rule the World. So you just replace the word world by internet, and that's reality. In today's times, everybody wants to rule the internet. That's because just like oil, I think internet has become a very powerful tool in politics, in commerce, and security. But ideally, of course, no one should rule the World Wide Web, because World Wide Web stands for openness, for freedom, so that would defeat the purpose of the internet. So yeah, ideally, I think there should be laws and regulations for individual countries that could take care of things like fraud or security breaches or defamation. But once that is put in place, I think the World Wide Web should be controlled by itself.
Now, talk to us about some of the conclusions from Net Mundial Conference within the three areas of discussion there: privacy, net neutrality, and the digital divide.
One of the key objectives of Net Mundial was to find a roadmap for the future of internet governance. A month or so ago, the United States had decided to relinquish its authority or its control of ICANN. It's the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, which is the Internet Governing Authority. Now, it's going to relinquish its control post-September 2015. And the US had proposed that there should be a multi-stakeholders agreement in which more than one country or more than one group, they form a consortium in which to lay down the roadmap on governing the internet. Of course, I find I'll be surprised if there's a consensus on this point, because as you mentioned, that there are already a set of countries which want to take these deliberations to the United Nations, while there are some others like the US who don't want the interference and involvement of government in controlling the internet. And it's understandable. The second point I wanted to state was that even the civil groups, the civil rights groups, they were not very happy with the final draft of the conference. That's because they said that there was not much emphasis on mass surveillance. The controversy regarding surveillance related to the NSA revelations by Edward Snowden had created a huge storm. And the second point they made was that there was no mention of net neutrality in the draft. So in a sense, they are also disappointed with the final draft. So I don't know how much fruitful this conference has been. And of course, it is commendable because at least they managed to bring all these parties under a single roof for discussions.
Now, during that meeting, during the Net Mundial Conference, President Dilma Rousseff signed into law a Bill of Rights that protects online privacy and promotes a more open internet.
Brazil advocates that governing of the internet should be multi-sector, multilateral, democratic and transparent. We consider the multilateral model the best form for governing the internet.
The Net Mundial meeting was called by Brazil's President Dilma Rousseff as part of her digital revolt against the US following the NSA scandal. For those who may have forgotten, among Edward Snowden's leaks were evidence that Rousseff's conversations were being closely monitored by the U.S. Now, Dan, tell us about what the bill proposes and if Brazil can lead the way towards a more global and transparent internet.
I think it was a significant step taken by Brazil to promote online freedom of expression, to promote net neutrality, and to limit the surveillance of or the collection of metadata on internet users for Brazilian citizens. Of course, and to have done this on the eve of the two-day conference, I think it was a very smart move now, because the world will look up to Brazil saying, yes, Brazil has done something not revolutionary, but it is an important milestone. So yeah, it was a good PR exercise for Brazil. But in terms of the conference itself, I don't know how it went, but yeah, for Brazil, it was a great way to demonstrate that it has taken a lead on the world stage in these affairs.
All right, thanks for that, Dan. We're going to move on now. It's time for Test 24. A social jukebox. That's how Gramofon's inventor defines his creation. Dan tested it for us. Dan, please elaborate. I thought all jukeboxes were social. What exactly are we talking about here?
Yeah, you're right. Jukeboxes are social, but they are social from the listener's point of view, while Gramophone is social from the controlling point of view as well. What I'm trying to tell you is that around 20 users can log on to a Wi-Fi network which is connected to this particular device, and they can control or stream the music the way they want. So for example, I'll just demonstrate how it's done. So either from an Android or an Apple device, you log into your Spotify, Vava or Napster account, and you start streaming the music. The good thing about this playing music through Android or Apple phone on Gramophone is that it doesn't drain your phone battery, because the music is coming directly from the servers of Spotify. And the other advantage, of course, is that unlike, say, Bluetooth connections, Wi-Fi is much stronger. So there's a longer range for you to operate, unlike, say, Bluetooth, which gets cut off very quickly if you move out of that short diameter. So yeah, I think this is a very interesting product. And the other advantage of having a Gramophone is that it acts as a Wi-Fi booster as well. So it can boost your signals in places where you don't get it, maybe in some corner of your house. And it's not so expensive. At 37 euros, it doesn't necessarily burn a hole in your pocket for all the advantages it offers. But there's one disadvantage which I feel they should rectify, is that it doesn't come embedded with an inbuilt speaker. There's no inbuilt speaker with the Gramophone. So you have to connect it to an external speaker. So if that flaw is ironed out, I think this could be a perfect product for party lovers.
All right, now we just need to make sure that our friends have good taste in music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for that, Dan. And that's all we have time for. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Tech 24. You can get in touch with us on Facebook or on Twitter using the hashtag Tech24. We leave you today with drone images of SpaceX rocket launch. This is the first footage of the Falcon 9 reusable taking off and making a controlled landing in Texas. SpaceX, a company established by internet entrepreneur Elon Musk, is trying a different path and making its rockets capable of undertaking multiple launches. If SpaceX reusable rockets succeed, we may witness a revolution in the future of space travel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.